Hello, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Pulse. I hope we're live, guys.
I
I
don't see
can't.
anything yet.
Yeah, I
I didn't
can't.
see the countdown.
Oh, I saw that a while ago.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't. Sorry for everybody out there.
Okay,
For
we're good.
okay, because
technology.
yeah, I need to tell the audience that yeah, when our software says we're live, that doesn't mean we're live on YouTube, and
Oh, sorry,
so
gotta
so
mute
we
that.
have to sit there and wait and check and see when we're live. So anyway, welcome to Paranormal Pulse. This is Cordell, and I got Carrie with me from Utah, and I got Dave from Scotland. And here we are in another broadcast, guys. And Carrie, how are you doing?
Good today.
Yeah, you had your second shot, and I guess got a little under the weather with that
Oh
one,
yeah,
which isn't uncommon. Dave, how you doing? And how's Scotland?
Good. It's been lockdowns are easing. Lots of travelers, lots of camper vans, lots of everything up here.
Yeah,
life.
that's
Yeah,
what's
life is
occurring.
returning to normality.
Normality, whatever that is, right? Well, for us, what it really means is it's time to investigate, right?
Investigations. Yep, that's what
We're
it means.
booking up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it really means for us, and being able to travel to areas that we haven't been able to, and get the teams back together, and get all reacquainted, hopefully. Anyway, so today we thought we would do a couple things. I have a photo I want to show that a Pulse member sent us, that another Pulse member took from the UK, Pulse UK. It was Craig that sent it to us. So we'll take a look at that in a minute, just give our thoughts on it. It's kind of an interesting photo. Actually, I find it quite interesting. Then we're going to talk about some equipment and maybe have one or two demonstrations and just talk about, and I don't know, guys, maybe we ought to talk about it. So we'll go over some equipment, but I'd like to also, if you had $100 to spend, what's the best way to spend your money? Um, should you go out and spend $1,000 on stuff, or should you, if you don't have a lot of money, what can you buy? What you should buy? Things like that. Maybe give some advice to people. Anyway, so uh, I'll let you guys talk real quick. I got to bring up the photo. I thought we would do the photo first, if that's okay with everybody.
I
I
haven't
got
even seen the photo. Now you say it's in a dungeon. I can remember the dungeons. They were still had all that creepy stuff in it. The hanging things and all of it. Loved
oh,
it.
the torture devices.
Yeah, oh yeah, they were all in the dungeon, and you just go down there. I got to go down there, so it was.
There's the picture. Now what I'm going to do is bring it up full screen and I'll zoom in and let's get everybody's thoughts on this. And again, this was taken by a member of the Pulse UK, that Dave, and
That.
I don't know the location. This was taken in 2019, December of
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah. So it was in Rosslyn Castle.
Were you there?
Yeah. Yeah. It was the last investigation we did before lock. Well, it was one of the. It was a big investigation from Friday through to Monday, I think. We had a castle to ourselves, and this is looks like it's an experiment I'm doing with a Ouija board. Which I mean, we've tried different things, different trigger objects, different techniques, see what works, what doesn't work. And this was an experiment. This didn't work at all. So
This didn't work at all.
no. It was actually
Um,
very dark down there. It must be a great camera for the. It's got a good flash anyway.
So here's the deal. Okay, this is the normal size photo. I'll zoom in here in a minute. Do you guys see anything strange or abnormal?
Not from this. It's so
It's a
distant.
bit too small, Cordell.
Oh, in the
Uh,
fireplace, it's
Oh,
like a glare of like a glare.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's it right there. What? So, Dave, since you were on this investigation, do you know this area?
Yeah. No, that was the kitchen area downstairs in the dungeon. It's we got a very interesting EVP from here as well. It was a we hadn't realized it was visited by the French, but we got a voice saying Anton, so his name's Anton, you know. But yeah, I can't remember seeing this, to be honest. I may have.
Well, that's the close up of the photo. I'll speak about it at first. I find it an interesting photo. It could be like Carrie said, could be some form of light reflection or refraction off the lens. It looks like it's in the fireplace. And when I first looked at this, I go, oh, it looks like a head, looks like a face. Um,
I'll tell you
so,
what I think it is.
um, so we'll go with Dave next. What do you think? If you weren't there, don't know anything about the photo, what's your opinion, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I would look at. Is there anything that could have caused a flash to reflect off? Things like that. You know, you probably got to have a bigger context of the small snapshot of the photo to see if anything off camera might have caused a reflection or whatever. But yeah, it looks interesting. It's but to me, it looks. I have seen kind of light reflect in that way before, but it was pitch black down there, so interesting.
Okay, Carrie, what's your opinion?
I think it's some type of light source that just beamed in, but to me it looks like the light is hitting the back of them. I don't know if that's ovens or whatever, but it looks like it's curved, like it's following the back wall, which the back wall I believe would probably be curved. So it looks like a light source beaming off the curved back wall.
Okay.
That gives it that little bit of a shape to it because it's just not a flat wall, it's curved.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting photo. Is it definitive? Well, again, as we always say, guys, no
Yeah.
photo is ever definitive. Um, the best the thing that needs to be done is this try to be replicated, duplicated, go back there, try to get the same spot, see what's in the back of the furnace first, see if they're also try different light sources with somebody's further away with a flashlight on, who knows. But I find it intriguing. It does look like a face. It looks like a floating head in the fireplace. But logically, guys, this is the way my mind works. It's like, okay, why would there be a head in the fireplace? Now, granted, big fireplace, a walk-in fireplace, basically. What's your guys' opinion?
Is it at the right height? I mean, if you zoom out again, Cordell, is it like at the right height, and could it have just captured what height is it?
Let me do
Is it
that.
one of those walk-in stoves?
It kind of, well, I shouldn't say it is, Carrie, but it looks pretty close.
Could sit a chair in it.
So is that better right there? Let me make this full screen.
I'm just going to be the party pooper and say I don't see a head. My eyes naturally think it's bouncing off a back curved wall, and there's just a light source at a specific time that's caused that. Yeah, you need to try to duplicate it, but you're never going to be able to 100% get it to the exact of that.
I think if you look where K is, if you look kind of along at the bottom there, there's like a. So if you move down, sorry, I cannot show you,
The
but
rim.
there's like a small circle of light there. Like if you move, no, sorry, if you go
Yeah,
up,
like she had her flashlight on or something.
down, no, no, Corel, no, if you
Under
go,
the table.
yeah,
Center, left, right, what?
Under table.
right, If you go where you see where the two legs cross, if you go directly across to the right, there's like a light spot down.
Over here.
No, you obviously cannot see it. Okay, that's fine. It just seems to be in alignment to that, that's all. Anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, Bob.
yeah.
There's like, if you look at in front of the guy's leg, there's that. Now go right in front of his leg.
Yeah.
In front, down, down. That light there, it looks like it's a beam, which could
right here
match up with that.
Yeah.
No,
I wonder
Cordell.
if someone's got a torch on there or something.
Well,
But
if you look at this, guys, yeah, I mean, there's a heavy light source behind these guys because
Yeah.
His whole back is lit up, his arms. So there's a lot of light hitting and going in this direction, right?
It looks like the picture of the three of them, it was almost taken at a higher height and angled down too.
But hey, I mean, it's interesting, huh? It's like, this is why we do it, huh?
Yeah, it is exactly. I mean, no, there's a lot of light there, which is good, I think. Let's take the solo off. There's a lot of light there, and like I said, the only thing to do is when you guys go back there, if you do, go back and try to replicate it, duplicate it, and you see that there's a lot of light coming in from the left to the right. I mean, it's really bright.
I mean, it's a fantastic place. You get the whole castle plus 3 levels of dungeons for the weekend, and they just give you the keys, the front door keys. So there's like lots of sleeping accommodation. There's a huge room with a massive log fire, and that's where you have a few experiences as well. I mean, I heard somebody walk in, come up to the door and open the door, but there wasn't anybody there. It was amazing. Brilliant place.
Really?
Me and Bob will be heading back there once things opening.
Is this a complete castle? What I mean by that, it's not all in ruins, or is it semi?
It's the keep part of it. The rest of the castle is in ruins. Yeah.
So this part's been maintained and restored, basically. Okay.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's yeah, and it was plus we did pick up a French EVP, first ever French EVP.
Did you ever figure out what it said in French?
Yeah.
And what may that be?
It's a guy who said his name was Anton.
Oh, Anton. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And
that was very simple. That was a very simple translation because he went Anton.
Anton.
Or a tone.
A tone. Karen's right. What if it was English saying a tone?
It was very clearly French. You can tell the accent.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
That's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because here in the States, we get very little other languages. We get accents. Excuse me, I swallowed wrong. We get accents, but we don't get a lot of. I mean, we have gotten what appears to be some other language, but that's really rare. So, Dave, do you guys pick up a lot of different languages in Scotland?
Yeah. Well, in Scotland, the first thing I noticed when I came from England, when I lived in England and investigated in England, was it was English EVPs. English speaking, English sounding. Different dialects or different kind of counties, but you could still hear the English accent. When I moved to Scotland, it was Scottish accents, which is interesting. It's as if it's locational. I did recently pick up an American accent as well at a Scottish location, but that was probably because we'd come back from America, so probably brought all sorts with us,
But
it's interesting. In the US, we did pick obviously American accents, but we also did pick up some Irish, and we picked up an English accent as well in some locations. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Well, it is, and Carrie can speak on that too. Because I think there was a couple times we might have picked up what appears to be Chinese here.
All right.
But
Ex-
and the interesting thing about that is it does match the history if you do, because we're in the West, and the railroads and all that were built on the back of Chinese labor, and so there was a lot of Chinese
A lot of
in the
Chinese and
West.
Irish.
Yes,
They didn't like each
mining,
other.
a lot of Welsh, Irish, and Scottish in the mining industry in the West too. Um, but we pick up those, but they seem to match the history. It's funny because one of the ghost shows that are no longer on TV years ago, they would go over to Europe and travel different parts of the world and still pick up English accents all the time, or
Jam
English
English.
speaking. Yeah.
Uh,
And they went to Dracula's castle or something, and one or two of the
that's
EVPs were American, which is really weird, right? No, I'm not saying, because it could be possible, guys. It could that could happen, but I find it why didn't they ever pick up any other type? Well, anyway, so
You're
I'm
having to
always
say too that they understand everything that's being said. That is an actual word from
but
yeah.
somebody.
but on that note, I mean, if it is fairly locational or historical, then what does that mean? What does that mean that this phenomenon is? It's an
Well,
interesting, yeah.
well, it's interesting because, and again, Carrie, welcome to jump in here, but like on my phone, I have a Chinese, I have a translation app. And so I use that. I'll put in there like, anybody here, who are you, what's your name, and it'll go through and do it in whatever language you want it. We do use those, have used those. But you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. If four Americans go over to Russia and investigate, there it's not only why would we pick up American EVPs, but how would the Russians know what we're saying if they don't speak English? And that raises the other issue. Go ahead, Carrie. What's your thoughts?
No, it's just the same thing. Teams or shows that have gone over and caught EVPs that are playing out like sounding English. And again, why would they come across as English? On the fact that it was just a noise. I don't even think they were real words, but it's, I think a lot of it's BS.
You know what?
No,
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
No.
No, in this,
Go ahead.
no, I got a bad lag. So
All
go
right.
ahead.
No. So I was in a Scottish theatre in Glasgow, one of the big theatres, and I was up in the balcony, and on the stage, it was allegedly haunted by I don't know, by an actress or an actor or some, I don't know. In one of the EVP session, one of the lady doing the EVP session was speaking in Gaelic, pure, and she was reciting this huge thing in Gaelic. And the moment she finished, I picked up a female English voice just say the words, "Won't we walk away?" And I don't know whether it's relating to the Gaelic translation. I don't know, and because me being me, I didn't listen to it till a long time afterwards, and by then the group was gone. But it was interesting to get a translation. I know I think Kay knows some people, some Gaelic speakers up here who could maybe listen to it, because it'll be interesting to see if the English kind of that English response is in any way related to the Gaelic questions.
Well, let me throw this out to both of you for your opinion. So could it be, it's interesting because there seems to be interaction with advanced technology on investigations occasionally. So could it be that when you're dead, that there is no language barrier? You automatically know every language. I guess that's a possibility. I'm kind of laughing here as I.
It's like Highlander. When you win the prize, you get to speak all languages or something. Did you ever see Highlander?
Well, it is interesting because how could Carrie, how could a entity or a spirit use a cell phone, for example, that maybe died 140 years ago? That's kind of my question. I've always been curious about that. What's your opinions?
Well, for going with what Dave said, when I was in Ireland and everything, there are portions there that still speak only in Gaelic. And so when you're there, let's just take people with the SB7s or whatever, and you get a oh, that's a word, because Gaelic is almost impossible to understand. I only learned a few words growing up, so I wouldn't even know what is an actual Gaelic word or sound next to someone just dragging their foot, for one thing. So when these groups come out and they have these big, oh, it said this, I just like, no. Here in the States, I've caught a lot of just accents here are Southern accents. I can get into a really deep Southern twang, which I've kind of buried, but at times it comes out, and I have caught different places. I've caught Southern accents. We've caught what sounds like German type accents to it. And you look at the states, the South is Southern, Pennsylvania, Ohio, all that was deep in the German influences and Irish, and then even down to the New York to the Boston accents. So, and even those can throw you. So, but to understand Gaelic or a foreign language that you have no clue, because every rule is just the opposite of the English language. I wouldn't be able to sit there and say, was that really part of a word, a fraction of a word, or was it just the noise that happened? You'd have to have somebody who spoke it to translate it for you.
Opinion, Dave?
I would ask the question: how can they even talk if they haven't got any vocal cords anymore?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing.
So you can take a step back, eh?
Yeah. Well, so on this note of accents, I do happen to have an audio that we'll play right now that seems to be a response in a certain accent. And you both have heard this many, many times.
I think it's one I may not agree on.
But I'll go ahead and play it. And we'll get, let's see, I got to, hold on a second. I got to get it set up here. Take a second. All righty, we're almost there. So, and this goes right into equipment, right? Because audio is one of our best pieces of equipment. And by the way, this is Audacity is what I use just because it's simple and quick and it's free. And if you want to start out editing your audio files as far as EVPs and stuff, I highly recommend just downloading this if you have Windows. This works with Macs and Linux and Windows. But it's easy to use, easy to learn, has a lot of functionality for a free program. And and I think Dave, Carrie, you both use this also. There's other programs out there. It's just this is one I've been using for years. It's pretty stable, works really well, easy.
It helps if your team is using the same program.
It really does. And it helps for training purposes and all that. And because we want to start getting into the equipment aspect here, and
it's free.
Well, it's free. Yes. Yeah, somebody isn't going to charge you $400 because it's designed to be an EVP catching audio.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So this goes right into it. And also, I want to play this because of our accent and language conversation, which I find fascinating, guys. It's like I'm amazed how many EVPs we've captured over the years that seem not to, the person seems to have originated in another country, which again makes some sense in the West, mining, railroad, all that. I mean, European and English people migrated to the United States and were in mining and other those type of jobs and stuff. So it does make sense. But anyway, I'll play this. Now, here's my disclaimer. If you guys got headphones on, I take them slightly off because I don't know how loud this will be. Might not be loud enough. I'm going to let Carrie and Dave determine whether they can hear it or how it sounds. Because I'm playing it locally on my PC, which sounds totally different than you guys out there in the ether. So here we go.
Did you move something? That was me.
So, guys,
Quite quiet.
was it
Yeah.
It's
quiet?
quite quiet.
Let me turn it up. Let me turn it up.
Can you move something? That was me.
So I'll play the just the EVP part once. Okay, guys, we'll go with Dave first. What's your impression of that? And do you hear an accent?
Yeah, I hear it. To me, it's Irish.
Okay. Carrie, your opinion?
This one to me sounds Irish.
And this goes right. I think this is a perfect one to play with our preceding conversation. Now, this one does fit because this came from an area in Utah, and there was a lot of immigrants. There was a lot of UK, Irish, Scottish, English. There was also German, big German community, and Danish, huge Danish. Matter of fact, Utah, half of the population, I think, at one time was Danish immigrants.
Wales.
Yeah, and Wales. But Wales was big in mining, wasn't it, Dave?
Wales was just big.
Yeah, and no, and the reason I'm bringing this up because it's important. This goes back to it's so vital to know your history of your area, where you're investigating, because this plays directly into something like this. Why would there be like if you pick up what you think's Chinese, guys? Why would there be a Chinese population there? If you know your history, you already have the answer, right? I'll play the EVP for everybody just one more time, just the EVP part. So, Dave, are you pretty confident that's Irish? Carrie and Dave, are you guys pretty? Carrie is Irish, by the way. So, what do you make of this EVP? I think it's a really good one. But
yeah, it seems like a response to. I think that's curry. It sounds like curry anyway.
Yeah.
It sounds like the investigators are chuckling there, and she says, "Hear you laughing," or I can't hear that. I can hear you laughing.
I'd have to hear it again to hear nothing or something. It's the very last word has the thick fluctuation in the Irish.
Okay,
language.
I'll play it one more time. Listen to what she says, because guys, I think this is interesting. This is why I'm fascinated with this clip, because listen to what she actually says.
Saying nothing.
Should I tell you what? Because to me, she's saying, "I see you laughing." She doesn't say, "I hear you laughing." She says,
"Let's have a listen."
You want to hear it again?
Yeah.
I'll turn it up a little bit. I'll turn it up.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to hear for you guys across the internet. So let me turn it up.
I see nothing. I will beg to differ. I see nothing.
Yeah, I see you laughing.
I hear nothing. I don't hear an L. I hear a strong N.
Well,
And
I
it's
see
not-
you.
I'll
I
play
see
it one more
nothing.
time. I'll play you play it one more time.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi,
see-
Lisa.
See you
You could
laughing.
go either way. I can press the fact I see nothing.
See, and I see you laughing, and let's okay, just for argument's sake, since there is a disagreement, we'll say it says I see you laughing. If it says that, that's quite fascinating because she
Yeah.
doesn't say I hear you laughing.
That's right. Yeah.
In my mind, I go, so she's not actually hearing them verbally, but she sees them, and she sees what she appears to be somebody laughing.
I'm just saying,
But
hey,
how
Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
But how come she's? I mean, it's really fascinating because, like, if it is, I see her laughing. She's not phased by seeing, this group of people. It's like as if she's commenting on what she's seeing, as if it's kind of normal. It's like it's weird. It's you can really think through.
If you would sit there and say you hear I see nothing, then maybe she's not seeing anything, she's only hearing. So there's so many ways that these can be taken and perceived, and so
but the what I find fascinating about this is because the concept, because I think a lot of people that do paranormal investigating, they assume that they're always watching us, they're always hearing every word we say. The
Yeah.
reality might be, guys, that they see us as often as we see them. They hear us as we hear them, which is not that often. So bear with me for 1 second. When you got an investigation and you ask 100 questions in 3 or 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever, how many responses do we get on the average? 10%, 5%, 3%? Well, there might be a very good reason for that. They might actually not be hearing us the whole time. We might be their disembodied voice. And so I'd like that, you guys' opinion of that thought. And we'll go with Carrie this time first. Carrie, what's your
we've talked about that a zillion times.
Yeah.
Is that we talked about it on this too, is can it be just a brief second that we're intertwining, and in that brief second, they can hear, see, or feel, or whatever. There was something I was going to say. Guys, go ahead. I got to tell my family to shut up real quick.
So Dave, what's your opinion of that concept that they only see and hear us as about as often as we do them?
That's the age-old question. I've had experience of where it looks like it's a bit of a times come together. But it's as if, I mean, how many times have we received EVPs where it is something like that? It's something like, they're coming, let's get out of here, things like that. It's as if they are expecting, or they know we're there. And they just kind of get on with things, I would like to think that there was this kind of brief time slip where they could see you and you could see them, but I don't know. It's like that question there, or that kind of comment she makes. It's as if she's watching us,
Yeah, which is definitely fascinating, and I think we have enough evidence that you could definitely say they watch us, they listen. Some of them, obviously, we've encountered many times. It's like, just get out of here, leave me alone.
Yeah.
What if it happens to only certain investigators?
Well, that's true too.
Directed at certain investigators. But what I was going to go back and say real quick is, with all this stuff that we're capturing and we're talking about, It's what do you do with it? How do you take this to move forward, and breaking it down, going back and trying everything to all the questions we're asking ourselves, go and try to do those things to get those responses. Okay, so can they see us? Let's do something to see triggers to everything. So it's just a good starting point to try to direct your investigation and what you need to be trying to do.
Well, and I want to add before Dave talks is that we also have a lot that seem to be happy to talk to us, happy that we're there. They don't want us to leave. We've encountered that many times. And like Carrie said, sometimes it's focused on an individual investigator.
Sometimes
And
one will hear and none will.
yep.
So it's
Go ahead, Dave. What's your thoughts on all that?
But how many times have we gone into an area and somebody said, "Hello, what's up? Who are you?" It's as if you've kind of,
interrupt them.
Yeah, it's just a fascinating subject, fascinating, and nobody knows the answers.
No, and not everybody agrees on everything that's being said either. So when you have a group of people that can agree everything that's you think is being said is
I mean, it is quite a common term in Ireland for to say, "I see you laughing," as
Is
well.
it? Well, and that's kind of what I was curious about, Dave, because there's accents, there's languages, and then there's also dialects. And also, you have slang terms,
Yeah,
and you have like in Ireland or Scotland, there might be a certain way a sentence is structured when you compare it to the English language.
just
Um,
time periods. There's accents and
right.
slang for the different time periods, the 20s, 30s,
Yep.
it was almost speaking a different language with the slang from back then. So
Yeah. And so anyway, I think it's a fascinating thing. And but I do want to talk about equipment for one. Now, I think you both would agree that audio is still our best device. It seems to
yeah.
be our most reliant piece of equipment that will give us the most amount of information at any given time is the audio recorder. So I don't think we disagree on that at all. So here's the I'm not sure how to start this topic
can I
because
address one thing real quick?
yeah, go ahead.
John Blanchard, I posted a question and asked, everybody talks about what their favorite piece of equipment is, but I posted,
I see you laughing.
what's your least favorite? And John said audio, and his was
Yeah.
is because he said that everybody hears what you want them to hear. You can suggest what people are hearing, and that is very true. But which we'll go into, but just going back to audio, there's so much more than just what's being said when it comes to audio. And just leading in with that because I didn't want to leave John out there.
And I think if I had $100, what would I buy? I would certainly buy a couple of audio, at least one. These little things here, nice and simple, digital voice recorders. These were like 25 quid in the UK. Buy a couple of those. I would still refrain from using me phone for to take cameras because obviously that could impact things. So I would leave that at base camp. Buy a cheap camera. That's it. You've got a torch. Sorry, flashlight. That's it. Investigation kit ready to go.
No plumbing supplies, Dave. any plumbing supplies or electrical gear.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I mean,
well, no, and because that's part of it, right, guys? I mean, because the equipment, it's a huge market. Carrie tried to do some research, started some research on The money that's spent on paranormal gear, they're always coming out with new devices, slight differences on equipment, but still, and we keep saying it over and over. We've said it so many times that, and yeah, audio still is your best because I would ask, was it John Kerry that
John,
I would ask him if you took away audio totally, what would you have learned by now? What would
well,
you know by now?
I think when people think audio, they think you have to hear what's being said and understand it, and that's not always the case. There's times you're not going to agree on what's being said or anything, but you're in agreement that it's most likely a voice. Okay, is it a male? Is it a female? And that stuff is just as important.
Well, audio is also very important, along with video, documenting the investigation period. Also, noises, bangs, all kinds of different things that you can hear, play back when you go back to the location. Try to, oh, that's the furnace that makes that noise.
Mhm.
Oh, that's X, Y, and Z. Without audio, I don't think we'd even be close to where we are at and any type of
No.
understanding. Now Carrie brings up a very good point, guys, because
Compressed files and that, you don't want that. I mean, if you're going into that whole thing.
yeah, but Carrie, you bring up a good point that so say out of 100 EVPs, only 90% of them could go either way. They could be a foot drag, a chair drag. They could be an investigator mumbling under their breath or whispering unintentionally. But there's at least 10%, I would argue, that are crystal clear, that are identifiable as nobody on the investigation team and nobody in the general area, that you can't ignore, that actually progresses our research. Is That's the way I look at it.
You should have
Thoughts?
other audios there to help back it too.
Dave, thoughts?
I mean, I agree with the backup audios. We do place a lot of fixed audio, and we do correlate. You know, if someone gets a clip, you know, you'll also say, okay, it was in this area at this time. We'll check through ours, and sometimes you get correlations. Sometimes you get it two at the same time, two completely different messages, which is bizarre as well.
Well, what gets me is you see a lot going on now and they put audio out and that's it. And there's more to just setting an audio out. You've got to address who's there, the time, the date, direct everything, and continue giving that information so that you can check it and you have more of info to go with. But when people just lay out audio and walk away and hours on end, it's damn hard to try to go back and find it and compare it with somebody else's. Or when we're talking, we say, oh, investigator talking or whatever. I mean, it takes a lot of that out too.
You're right. I think a lot of the EVPs will get kind of bolt onto the back of a voice, But there was one investigation we did in Wyoming, and me and Cordell were up in the attic area, and we had, and Cordell said, "Well, the batteries have died," and the audio recorder picked up something completely different, even like a slightly different voice, even at exactly the same time. Now, whether I know we went through all sorts of, can whatever it is use. Somebody used to say, "Use the energy in my voice," but it's interesting how things could be distorted. So it might be a genuine investigator saying something, and an audio picks up something completely different because we've actually encountered that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got vents or anything. If you got an
all
audio near a
sorts.
vent or something, voices carry up through that and distorted.
Yeah,
So
that's why a lot of fixed audio is good, just for for correlation and for cross checking. Yeah,
That's true. And I know a lot of investigation teams, at least the ones I've seen, they'll they won't have stationary audio out. They'll just carry an audio, do a burst of an EVP session, do a 5-minute burst, and they move on. And oh, there's Craig.
Or play it back. Sorry, guys, you really do need headphones
Hey,
or
Chris.
something. Just holding an audio up in a location that is not the best.
Let's address Craig's
Craig.
question. Yeah, Craig, I think, is addressing the photo.
The light.
Oh, there was a light on. Okay.
Yeah, and that goes back to the photo we showed at
That
the
explains
beginning.
why it's a good. Yeah, that's why it's a good. That explains why it's so well lit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really lit. And Craig, I don't know if you saw the whole thing. I think it's an interesting photo, but yeah, you and Dave and the team needs to go back there and try to replicate that and see if you can't get, maybe with dust coming up at the right angle, the light hit the dust and form that face. Who knows? Or it could be legit. You could have caught somebody
great.
that, huh?
It was a great location. Great location.
Yeah. Okay, so now, guys, on the whole idea of equipment. So this is a interesting topic, and we could probably go on for 4 straight episodes of this, of talking about equipment. Because there's equipment, what it's for, how it's used, what it actually does. Then there's the whole topic, guys. How do you use a piece of equipment? How should you use a piece of equipment? Audio, that's what we've been talking about. It's pretty straightforward, other than placement, how many you should have, etc. So,
Real quick,
go
before
ahead.
I forget, yesterday I found on YouTube, everybody should look this up. It's Paranormal One-on-One Useless Investigation Equipment. They
Oh, I
break
think
it
I've seen
down
that.
too. They're good, so go watch it.
So I'm going to play. Now, speaking of equipment, guys, as you know, Pulse has a lot of equipment. We just got about a year ago, a new CCTV camera system. It's an NVR, not a DVR. There is a difference. NVR is for network video recorder or video recording system. So we have much better cameras, up to 4K cameras now. So I'm going to play this, and this is Carrie and Jane using a piece of equipment, one of these. And I'll play the video, then we'll talk about REM pods. These are, and I think it's important we talk about these. These are used, almost every group has them. They'll have 1 to 4 or 5. TV shows all use them. These are like staples now. These are almost as widely used as audio nowadays. These, and they're, well, relatively to some other equipment, they're fairly cheap, right? They're not cheap though. They range from 140 up to over $200, depending on the manufacturer, the configuration.
What you get added into it.
Yeah, some of them have like 3 functions: shadow detector, temperature, and EMF. Because they got to keep updating the equipment inventory to keep selling you the same thing over and over, which with a new bell added to it.
Yeah, now there's a new antenna-free REM puck.
I'm surprised it hasn't got a. I'm surprised it hasn't got an inbuilt SB7 and Ovulus.
That'll be next year's model. Okay. So let's play this audio, because this is a perfect example how we use these, and probably 9 out of 10 investigation groups use them too. And we've all seen it on the TV show. So I'll play. I'll go full screen, and I want to point out too that this audio is from the CCTV cameras. They have built-in audio. It's at the and the cameras, if you're going to invest in CCTV cameras, guys, get an NVR, don't get a DVR. So hold on one second.
But you don't have to have them to start off with.
No, you don't. And handheld cameras work good also.
Yeah, that's a fantastic location. I mean, on the right hand side balcony we saw that half a woman. On that left hand side balcony there, you saw that suit of clothes slowly start forming.
Yeah, we saw the dress right here going this
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
saw um the
The
guy,
suit.
yeah, he came this way.
Yeah.
Now Jane and Carrie are up here.
And that
So
room up there is where Bob had his Derek Acora moment.
I
what,
think
this
that's
room?
me sitting there in front of 59.
All right, so we'll go quiet. I think this is about a minute long. It's about a minute long video. So let's just listen and let's see what happens. And guys, I can't up the volume anymore, so some of it'll be quiet, some will be louder. I Because this is video, I don't really have much volume control on this. So here we go.
Is there someone here for me? Please? Okay, thank you. Would you step away, please? Here with me? It's okay. What is that? I don't know. That sounded like that came over like your direction. Like an escalation team? Yeah. I got it. Yeah, I know it's here. Is that you? Would you stand back if it was you, please? It almost sounded like it was.
Okay, let me get back to the regular screen. Let's take off the solo. So guys, and this is just a short clip. There's other clips with direct, what appears to be direct responses to questions, but I just wanted to demonstrate. I know you guys couldn't hear some of it. But so let's go Dave and Carrie this time. Dave, what's your thoughts on it?
From the audio video, it looked like I think it was Carrie was asking questions or asking it to activate the REM pod, and it sounded like it was activating on cue. That's what I heard, anyway. I think that's what I heard.
Yeah. Okay, Carrie, what's your take on it?
It was activating on cue to me, but not Jane. Which was intriguing, but that's not what I would sit in. That just kind of gives me an area of let's focus back here, let's concentrate, let's put video back here, let's put more audio. I can't just take a REM pod going off to my questions as it's evidential. I mean,
yeah,
it's great to help you kind of direct and maybe questions or how you should approach it, but I can't take that as evidence unless I've got someone standing there or an EVP or something to go with it. It's just
you know what? I think with REM pods, there's too much in the environment which could impact it.
Yeah. I never carry phones. Never. Yeah. Don't let Janie. But I know I can't carry a walkie-talkie because of my pacemaker. But we know that walkies can set them off. And
well, here you go, guys. I'm going to turn this on because this also has a shadow detector.
Temperature, it goes off like that. So I don't even use the temperature on mine.
Yeah, this doesn't have a temperature, it just has a shadow and a REM pod. Right now, I just turned on the REM pod. The antenna does go out. I'm not going to. So you can see that now The interesting thing is, I want everybody to be aware of all kinds of transmission signals will set this off. So it's on.
Yeah.
And the reason I kept the antenna low is I didn't, because the longer it's on, the field that it creates gets bigger and bigger. And after hours of it being on, it can go out to 4 or 5 feet actually. Now, the interesting thing is, and I'll just give a quick overview, then I'll let you guys talk about it. A moth can set this off. And this goes back to what we keep saying all the time. There is no such thing as an actual ghost detector. This, if the field gets broken, it just goes off. And anything large enough with enough volume will set this off. Now, to demonstrate, I have a walkie here. I'm going to turn it on. It's just a walkie. These are like $10 each. No big deal. So I'm going to hit the transmission button. There you go. I hit the
Cordell, you've just
button. Go ahead.
Cordell, you've just given away all the production company's secrets.
I know.
On Ghost Adventures and all these other things.
Yeah, and what I demonstrate this to clients and stuff all the time. I'll say, do you like the client? Oh, yes, it likes the client. Oh, somebody is here with us.
Are you evil?
Yeah, well, are you a female?
No, are you evil?
Are you evil? Yeah. So
same thing.
Yeah.
And
I got you.
I want to show you that it'll go off here in a sec. I'll turn it off now. I wanted to demonstrate that because any of these type of devices will go off on a transmission. K2 meters will go off, and I can literally have a full-blown conversation that's make-believe. And we're not sitting here, guys, first disclaimer, we're not sitting here saying that everything you see is make-believe and somebody's out there pushing. But I want you to know how easy it is, because I can push this transmission button and you'll never know I pushed it. It doesn't make any noise. And it's on. It doesn't make any noise, and I can push it. I can reach in my jacket, have a walkie there, and push it.
Cell phone.
Well, that was going to be my next thing, guys. Cell phones will set these off. Certain transmissions will set all these off, and the point is, be aware of that. If you're going to take this seriously and use these, I like using them. I know Carrie does. I do. Dave has used them. They can be valuable, but you have to know the limitations. You have to know how it works. You have to understand that just because one goes off doesn't necessarily mean the reality is you don't know exactly what caused it to go off, right?
It's not a definitive answer into the paranormal world. It's a tool to help kind of, as I say, locate or focus.
And if you think of it, it's like most equipment, it's there's a lot of investigators use it and haven't got a clue what's happening,
Well, yeah, because the more they have, the better they are, and the more that they're in touch with the dead and they have the answers. And
yeah,
that's just how it goes. It's just total BS.
I have to wait a minute.
As we were talking about cognitive bias.
Well, I have to do a shout out to Chance, my cat. She is cute. Thank you, Lisa. She's smiling if you can't tell. So she says thank you. Go ahead, guys.
No, I mean, all this stuff is used in cognitive bias, and people don't get that. And they go down a one-way road from people convincing them that you're in touch with a dead person. This is the answer. This is what's being said. And it's just not that way.
Well, honestly, I could walk into a haunted, I could bring in, I could charge, say, 10 quid a head. You could bring somebody you can bring a group of people in a location. And if you use the spirit boxes and the ovuluses and orbs, all this crap, you could use REM pods, you can use everything, and they will leave there convinced that they've had a fantastic night.
Well, that's what everybody's doing, and what's happening is
That's
everybody's going in, go pay this, and
That's it. Yeah.
then the TV shows come in, and we know they're BS. So it's
Because, you know, those spirit boxes and ovuluses and all that crap, I mean, that works all the time, really, you know.
Well, and I have to say
no
one
more
thing.
guessing. They tell you.
Well, and I want to
Yeah.
make a comment on the Ovilus. I think that's one of the worst pieces of equipment ever put out there for the paranormal. It thanks, Bob, for the comment there. No, the Ovilus, to me, I would rank it in my top 5 as the worst piece of equipment to use. And here's the main reason.
Paranormal Puck,
Well, here's the main reason,
SB7.
that it uses basically one word. And whenever you interject just one word, I don't care what it is, you can fit that one word in 95% of every single situation you're in. And you can apply a one word. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
that,
cognitive bias.
right. Well, and now if it was a whole sentence made up of 7 to 10 words, that would be different. But one word, guys, can fit in any given situation. Doesn't matter. You can be standing in a friggin' closet with an ovilus, and I guarantee you 9 out of 10 words will fit your situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, having said that,
SB7, same way. You hear what you want from it.
I'm curious of how you guys view this, because here's the key is, I think, and then I'm going to let you guys talk. So fundamentally, there's nothing wrong with equipment, but again, you need to know how it works, and remember, it's a tool. This is a tool, and it can give you insights of what's occurring. But this is to you guys, and I want you guys to talk about this, Carrie and Dave. Does this, if this goes off and Carrie asks 5 questions and it seems to respond, what does that really mean? What can we glean from that? What can we take from that? Recognizing this is a tool with limitations. So, okay, guys, and we'll go with Dave first and then Carrie. And
Yep. So I don't use them, Cordell. I have got a vibe pod because I wanted to, you know, like when you hear footsteps, I wanted to try to correlate it with the vibration. Like, say you're on a like a dance floor, or you know, some of the locations have got large floors, wooden floors, and things. For REM pods, anything which asks you, I mean, a REM pod for me would be so far down on the list of equipment, because you can't really, it doesn't tell you anything. I mean, it tells you something's happening, but what's happening, you know, and I don't think you know what could be interacting with it. Therefore, for me, it is limited. I mean, okay, I would probably use it in a corridor at one end if we were on the other end, and for to identify if, you know, if there was something in the corridor. We'll see. I don't know. Even if this phenomenon can even activate these kind of things. So I was in a location once, and I used to use the those simple just light sensors where when somebody the IR, when somebody walks past, you know, I just simple IR, and that was more to identify people, you know, like fleshies rather than the paranormal. And we went a corridor once, and I had about 3 of them down this corridor, and they all came in and like on and turn and then switched off as if someone was walking past them. So having a couple of those in the area might have helped. But yeah, me personally, I don't use them.
okay, Carrie, your thoughts?
I have one. It's not strict. It doesn't tell you there's something there. I use it more if it's kind of helps with a location, kind of when you're sticking it out all over the place, it can be used to kind of, let's focus here. We seem to be getting hits on this. What are those hits?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that it's paranormal. It means, okay, this is picking this up here. Maybe other equipment or people are picking it up. Check around the area. A lot of times you'll find outside there's wiring and stuff. So, temperature, I never use that. It just, when we get things like that, like we'll stick it on the second floor and stand on the third floor atrium and kind of talk down there to see if we can get, so it's kind of what you would call it, like a sensor light to, all right, well, we've been here for 2 hours, we're getting nothing, and now it seems like in this area, mine's going off, Cordell's is going off, so let's kind of walk down there, focus in this area. But even with it going off to me and only to me, to specific questions and all that, you can't base anything off of that. It's what other equipment you have out there and what you're noting and what you're seeing. And it can be used to help you actually debunk things. So, and it can make at times when it's very boring.
Well,
let there be light, and it can be confusing. So no, it's not a piece of equipment that, and here's my secret, I don't buy it. My husband buys everything. And then he goes, can you use this? I'm like, oh, sure.
I charge everything to my cat, so it works out well. No, so here's the last thing I'll say on it. Again, these are tools. If you know how the tool works, it can
help you. If
can
not,
help.
it can deter it.
And understand the limitations, understand how it functions, why the lights are going off, or all the possibilities. Now, okay, so we have about 20 minutes left, guys. It's already been, the time just flies by. So we only really touched on this in conjunction like with a walkie, which a walkie, if you have more than one person on your team, you should have a set of walkies. So this is like, they range from $150 to $200, somewhere in that ballpark, give or take, depending on the deal and time of year and etc. and what type you buy. So that's there, guys. So let's take this. So let's say this costs $150. Well, say Dave here only has $150. So is Dave better off buying one of these? Or if you could tell Dave, take that 150, I can give you 10 things you can buy for less than that 150 that will be just as good. That's the question. Just as good, or maybe a diversity of things you can get for 150. So let's look at it as a diversity. This for 150, or what would you get if it wasn't this, and you could get Dave 10 different items for under 150 that'll diversify his toolkit. So let's go with Carrie first, and then we'll go with Dave. So Dave, you're gonna have it easy because she's gonna name a bunch of things, and then you'll only have to probably come up with a couple. So the pressure and stress is on Carrie, is my point. So go ahead.
Basically just a lot of audio. A lot of audio. And actually I'd say, okay, I'm gonna put some of that money towards a good video camera and just batteries and tripods and stuff like that. But yeah, audio, flashlights, trigger objects, just like what we tell every investigator coming in when they ask what equipment do they need. It's the audio, torch, pen and paper to take notes. Simple. Okay. Come on, when we were doing this years and years ago, we didn't have all this crap. We didn't. We had shit. We had cassette tapes that if you weren't careful, they would melt or get erased or jumble up, and a camera and a flashlight. You took balls, you took baby powder or flour, you took streamers, and that was your equipment.
And we still
I
have
think
them.
yeah, I actually
still
think
use them.
those were better times. Honestly, it made you think harder and try harder. But
Okay,
yeah,
okay, Dave, what would be in your toolkit if you had 150? Because I already know, you wouldn't buy this. So what would you get for 150 bucks in your toolkit?
Me, I would obviously go with audio. You can buy some cheap audio devices. They seem to work just fine. Now, do you have to go for things like the Tascams and that? Or do you just go with the 25 quid things like these? My preference is these. Yeah. I think I would.
oh God, I'm sitting around.
It, and I have, I mean, in me toolbox or me equipment thing, I've there's chalk, there's thread and strings, there's a bottle of baby powder,
Pinwheels.
there's a silver knife in case there's any werewolves. There's all sorts of things. But you could, I mean, but you could chalk is great. You can get a second-hand shop. You can get trigger objects. You can stick a trigger object on the floor, draw a circle or whatever. Which is just as good as if anything can play with that, it can play with a teddy bear or something.
I'd rather see a ball move.
You can buy some very cheap handheld cameras. I went and bought some of the old analog ones, the big old tape ones, and you can buy them fairly inexpensively as well. So there's loads of things you can do. I mean, a camera. I know kind of cell phones, mobile phones. I do try to not have them in the environment in the field if you can help it, but I mean, some of them have got like 4K cameras in them, themselves. So yeah, cheap camera, audio devices, a couple of household things, baby powder, blooming threads, all sorts. A torch, a good torch. That's what you need, though. And you can buy them fairly inexpensively as well. So $150, I can get as Carrie mentioned, pen, paper.
Yeah.
Just
But
focus on your senses, your sight, your hearing, your smell. You can focus on your senses and just take notes. I mean, that's what you're there for.
Well,
I carry a little notepad with me, notepad and pen,
and
a small compass because it is good to know where you're placing where your audio is pointing and that.
Well, when you're in the maze of the dungeon, in the maze or the corn maze, you don't want to get lost in a corn maze, right?
Exactly.
But I do want to mention, because phones are interesting. Everybody has a phone, and some are cheaper than others, but it seems like everybody has a phone, right, guys? You can buy accessories for your phone. You can buy external audio for your phone. You can buy thermal attachments. You can do all kinds of things. Now, years ago, this is my take on phones, real quick.
These BS apps that do it all.
Yeah,
a ghost app. I should have said ghost app as well. Sorry.
Apps. Yeah, it does. I mean, it does everything. So taking that in with this program to do it all, man, you got it made.
Well, hey guys, what does it mean when I run my ghost app on my phone and it always says the only place that's haunted is the bathroom? What does that mean? Why is that the case? No, all seriousness, no. Years ago, we disallowed phones.
Yeah,
we disallowed we disallowed phones. Well, because you'd get the person come in and go, well, I don't have an audio, I'll use my phone. Years ago, the audio and photo and video quality on a phone sucked. It was horrible. The audio was, the video wasn't good, the photo camera wasn't good. You can't say that anymore. Like you said, Dave, some of the top of the line have 4K video.
Yeah.
They'll do 20 megabit pixels.
Yeah.
As good as any camera. Even the audio's improved on these. Now, here's the problem, though, is you introduce this and allow investigators to use it, which modern phones, if it's fairly current, I don't have a problem with that. But it introduces a lot of crap into the environment. It's constantly receiving and transmitting. Your people are getting texts. They might have their email, their Gmail on here, and they're getting alerts. If you really need to turn off all your alerts, in my opinion. I have like
You
20
still hear
alerts.
the vibrations of it though.
Well, I see. I have like 20 alerts because this is also my work phone. And so every email I get notified. My Ring camera on the front of my house notifies. The constant texting from Dave, because is always alerting. Um, so therein lies the problem. So how do you minimize the impact of all the transmissions coming into the environment, especially if you're using all this other electronic gear? Nobody seems to notice, or do they care? But they should, right? So how do you impact this, or do you allow it at all? And
It,
we'll go
it,
with Dave first, then Carrie.
it depends. So, like, I've got this old Android here, which has got a great camera. It's not connected. It's got no SIM card. It's got no. It isn't connected at all. Because it's the phone is defunct, but the kind of the functions of the phone are still there. If I was going to use a phone, I would probably use something like that. But I only ever used to use it when I was initially setting up and taking photographs because of the high quality the camera, and then I would just leave it in my bag at base camp. So yeah, I mean, even though it's not connected, I still used to leave it.
Okay, interesting. Carrie, what's your thoughts?
I don't bring phones with me into the investigations. I will leave them down at base camp. Either I turn it off and then turn it on to check in, or I mute it, bury it, and someone will say your purse is vibrating, and it's like, oh yeah, someone's checking. But it's always someone at base camp. No, that didn't come out very good.
I know. I was going. Is that what they call it nowadays? The purse.
No, your purse is making noises or something, and then it's usually whoever's at base camp can go ahead and say, yeah, it's a phone or something like that. But just to have a phone on an investigation, I don't, and I encourage, if you don't have to have it, not to during the active investigation time. But there are people who do have to have it for one reason or another. So
Yeah,
it's when things happen, then you got to stop and, okay, did you get a text? Did you get a message or something? So you got to go cross it
and
off for everything.
yeah, and I mean that's a good point, Carrie. If there's if you're waiting for an emergency phone call or whatever, then have your phone with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we used to sit in base camp, and there would be all sorts of music and all sorts going off on the phones there. All we'd do is just keep a log and then notify the individual. Listen,
Yeah.
your phone's been ringing.
Okay. Yeah, no. And but I think this is because everybody's using these, everybody has one. And I think you have to control this. If you're going to allow this on an investigation, or an
Yeah,
investigator is going to use this, here would be my recommendation. And these are really simple, is identify the investigators that are going to use a phone,
yeah,
have them always have it out in their hand, never in their pocket, never in their vest. And the reason is because it's got to be seen as a regular piece of equipment and a tool. And when it goes off, everybody needs to be able to see it go off. If it goes on your pockets on vibrate, then you're chasing, right? Because you got these three pieces of equipment that all of a sudden went off. So if you allow this on an investigation, they have to treat it as any other piece of equipment. They have to hold it in their hand. It has to be visual. Or you isolate this and say, okay, this area up
yeah.
here, this one area, go ahead and take your phones, record. We're not going to have any other equipment in there. Go ahead. We're just got audio and video. So yeah, you can use your phone on that floor.
Yeah, there's
I think you have
nothing
to.
worse.
I think you have
Sorry.
to control it like that,
Yeah,
right?
there's nothing worse
Yeah.
than hearing someone's phone vibrating and they're like, "Oh, did you hear that? Sounds like somebody's talking." 1807, everybody listen, and because this phone's making all these noises and it comes across as you think maybe someone's talking or whatever,
Right.
and it just, yeah, I don't personally, if you don't have to have them, I
Yeah.
personally don't like having
And,
them,
and
but
yeah, and that's fine. I think, like if Dave's team went out on an investigation, as long as you know who's using them and keep track of it, and they have to have it in their hand like they would an audio recorder.
well, especially if you're just one of you, two of you, some of the locations we go to, then I would say, yes, have your phone on you just in case of an emergency.
Yeah. So
Um,
Dave's thoughts on, because I can tell you got something on your mind. Go ahead, Dave.
No. Hey, it's I mean, kind of people now are so proficient in the use of their phone, that
Well,
Not
we
it
me.
does take a lot of practice, Dave. It takes a lot of practice.
I very seldom
but,
use mine.
but we don't have REM pods and things, everywhere. So a lot of our locations, I think I prefer someone to be able to, rather than not have their own audio equipment and things like that, I prefer them to have something than nothing. So if they can take a photograph up with a camera with a phone, great. Because a lot of people don't have like cameras as separate; they just use their phones. So I'm a bit more relaxed on them now. But it depends if you've got an area where you have got a lot of equipment in there which could pick up the kind of the impact of this. Then obviously we would have to limit that.
Yeah.
Taking selfies.
Yeah, I mean that's Bob.
Chris. We love Chris. Selfie time.
But I think I mean, for example, that castle that we did, it's so big, so dark and cold. I mean, just take your phone if you want, even just from a safety perspective. If you haven't got enough radios, that is.
Well, and I just want to add, like I said, I'm for it, but I think you have to identify it. You have to know who
Agreed.
has the phone,
Yeah.
who's using their phone, who isn't, where are they at, because if equipment starts going off, and like I said, I'm a proponent, if they're going to use it as a piece of equipment, they need to be holding it, needs to be seen, not in a backpack or somewhere where it's going
coat
off.
pocket.
Well, yeah, and it's going off and nobody knows it's going off, including the end user. If he has it or she has it in her hand, they'll feel it go off. They'll go, "Oh, that's my phone." So when that REM pod does go off, it can be easily identified. So, but go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think the only time I really use a phone is like if we're playing music to kind of use as a trigger or something like that.
Yeah.
Then you're using it, but it's going. But other than that, yeah, I always know who has a phone, who doesn't, like Cordell said. But I personally never take one.
Well, and I'm glad we talked about this. So on today's show, we looked at the photo, which I think's interesting. We listened to the audio. Now, and we talked about REM pods and audio in general, and we talked about phones.
Do we save a whole show for SB7s?
Well, so I wanted to point this out that we only really talked about, for example, audio recorders, phones, and REM pods, which leaves another 99% of all our equipment. So I guess the next 40 shows will be on equipment, guys. I'm joking, of course, but
I know. I mean, I can pull clips of people. Oh, did you hear that? And then everybody hears something else, and all of a sudden, like you said, they hear it, and oh yes, then they have definitive answers as to who's there, what's there, and all that. And I guess it goes down to what is entertainment value.
yeah. Well, and I wanted to point out too, I did point out my disdain for obelisks in general. Anything that those type of devices, I really don't like them. I have
Uh,
them, but I don't like them.
yeah, I think Cordell, a few shows
Uh,
we did cover a lot of the kind of some of the tricks of the trade that the paranormal shows use and why. So I think that I think we covered that well under that.
Well, we'll do some more on equipment. It's interesting because it's we're not going to obviously have a show where we're going to show 20 pieces of equipment and have a rundown of them because it's just not in our nature. We're not going to be able to do it. So periodically, we'll throw in a piece of equipment and talk about it. And maybe we can have a show, guys, that we actually show actual items for sale, run through them on websites, like on Amazon or something. We can actually do that and say, oh, well, here's a ghost kit. See, this is one of my favorite ones that they sell too, is a ghost
Ghost
kit.
kit.
Yeah, for $99, ghost hunter kit. And are they worth it? Maybe we can have a show about that.
These locations that do haunted tours rent out K2 meters for $10 or $20. And
Well, on that note, I think if you go on at least 4 a year where you're renting those type of devices, go buy your own. It's cheaper.
Mm.
If you want. Now, and we haven't even had a show, guys, about what equipment's easy for you to make. That for $5 instead of spending 50, you can actually make it. You might need a soldering iron, you might not. You might need to buy a little case kit and make your own little case and stuff, but that's perfectly doable too. I've made equipment. We've all made equipment
I
from,
haven't.
well, okay, me and Dave made equipment from electronics and just knowing how a piece of equipment works, you can make your own. So we'll have a
No, I
show
know how
about
it
that.
works. I just don't know how to put it together.
Well, it's
I don't have the patience.
the hardest part I found is making a case for one. You can get the electronics and everything, but then for the lights and switch, you got to get a kit case and you got drill holes and stuff, and that's the most time consuming. The actual putting the electronics together aren't really that big of a deal, but anyway, well, maybe we can talk about that where you can buy these little kits for $5-10 and make $100 EMF detector and stuff like that. And so as we wind this show down, believe it or not, it's been an hour and a half, guys. Where's the time fly? It just flies.
Yeah, I know.
But anybody listening to this, if you have questions about equipment and don't you want our opinion, we'll be happy to give it to you. We might not always agree, and that's okay too. K2, see how I snuck K2 into that sentence? That's okay too. Sorry. Uh, so, Carrie, what's your final thoughts on equipment and all that good stuff? We didn't even talk about motion detection,
No,
lights, and
it unfortunately, the more equipment you have nowadays, the better you are. The more you know, the more answers you have. Oh no, Dave, that's true. Then you're going to have paranormal shows where you're going to be telling everybody this light went off, that went. So you definitely have an evil spirit here. It's a demon and all that. It's just all BS. And just go, like we said, just have audio, a camera, a good team. Know your members on your team. Make sure you're all kind of, know what you're going in to do and have that trust and all that there. And that's all you need, really. Paper, pen, I carry a little book around. And, my best is you guys, but you don't have to have, just because you have all this equipment doesn't make you an expert or better than the person who's got an audio and a camera.
Go ahead, Dave.
I think that it's unfortunate that a lot of people who want to get into this field haven't really got much in terms of role models to go for. So what happens is, they buy these kits with the best intention, because that's, they want to get into the field, and the only kind of conduit they've got are these damn reality TV shows, and I think that's why it's unfortunate. I don't blame, anyone can buy anything. And I mean, these are just our views, right? But I still kind of feel that there needs to be a little bit more, just for anybody, please just do more research before you just buy kind of what these TV shows are promoting, and
Well,
and I think that like kind of podcasts like this, where we'll be very honest in what works, between them, we must have about 900 years of experience of investigating, so I think there are shows. Just please research first before you go out and buy the next newest, brightest, shiniest thing, because getting back to chalk, string, I mean, these things are really valuable as well, right? So
unfortunately, Dave, there are a bunch of people out there too that do know what it's used for, how it works, and they're using it to mislead people. And that's not the paranormal. They're not researching paranormal. They're fame hunting. So there's definite entertainment value there. And we've seen it where people have misused it towards people and locations. So,
but when I was starting off, I got the Peter Underwood's Ghost Hunter's Handbook. And I was ticking things off. Okay, string. I've got string. I've got thread. I've got I've got I've got all these different things. A camera device and an audio device was low on the list. Yeah,
foil and stuff.
Gloves, just in case it gets cold at night when you're huddled up in a corner waiting for to say something. A warm hat.
Well, and
honesty and saying we don't have these answers. We really don't.
Anyway, yeah, and those are all good stuff, guys. And I think unfortunately in the equipment world, it's becoming it's definitely a multi-million-dollar business. And don't get me wrong, there is stuff that does work far as alerting or possible evidence, but they're all tools. Some are better than others. Some are totally worthless. And I think we all have our opinion on it. But there is a basic set that one should have. And I do like the old school, some balls, trigger objects, painter's tape, some balls. Dave, is that what you're laughing at? I know that's a strange concept, but anyway, so yeah, some balls. Carrie has more balls than me.
I have more balls. Yes, I have big balls, big heavy balls.
I just want to point that out. Carrie does have the biggest balls. So, but no, balls as trigger objects, painters,
chalk and stuff too. It's easy cleanup. It's easy cleanup because you don't want to leave stuff behind on the location.
Well, and I do want to add that there's certain things almost that every investigation.
Bye, Lisa.
Yeah, I want to say goodbye to Robert.
Oh, bye, Robert. Bye,
Bob and Lisa. But there's certain things that we use most. One, I use audio the most.
Always have audio.
Then video, and then batteries. I go through so many freaking batteries, and I think that's probably our biggest expense, isn't it? I mean,
I just ordered batteries so for Saturday because I'm totally out.
Yeah,
gas and batteries is probably the two biggest commodities we go through.
Junk food.
Well,
coffee.
Well, it's the Ghost Hunters diet, right?
Yes.
Maybe we should. Oh, you know what? That's a great idea. So nobody steal it out there. We need a Ghost Hunters diet book
or kit. Ghost Hunters
cuisine. We could, you know what? If we could get some K ration surplus from the from the military and just repackage them as Ghost Hunter survival kit.
Man, I miss those jalapeno pinwheels. Oh, they were nice.
Oh
The
God.
poppers, yeah,
Yeah, they were nice.
in Wyoming.
Yeah.
They still have those, Dave. They still have them.
Do
Yeah,
they?
those
Oh.
are good. Ghost Hunter's diet sucks, guys. It really does. It's full of sugar and
Caffeine.
Coffee.
and
Coffee.
caffeine. Yeah, we were like this right halfway through the investigation.
Cordell's gas station pizza.
That's damn good pizza though. For the price, that's good pizza. It's okay. It is a little greasy, but it is good. It is good. No, it's funny because anyway, we'll probably have to do a whole show on that. Uh, but that would be a good book, wouldn't it? Paranormal Investigator Survival Manual,
Yeah.
and a chapter on food, the best treats to get, sugar loaded, obviously. What's Lisa saying here?
Yeah, just got a little bottle of whiskey.
Keep you warm.
Yeah.
When it's cold, yes, a nice
Yeah.
bottle,
Yeah.
little flask
A
of
nip
whiskey.
of whiskey.
Yeah, have a
And
little
if you
nip.
see something, calms the nerves.
But it's been a great show tonight, guys. And again, we didn't cover too much equipment, but we demonstrated a few of these. Oh,
Yeah,
that's,
the potty. I carry the Paranormal Pulse potty.
yeah, that's a key.
Yeah,
That's a key resource.
I do carry a potty.
Well, Carrie, one of these shows you'll have to demonstrate the paranormal
I won't
potty.
demonstrate, but I'm more than happy to show it off.
Oh, well,
It's got girls only sign on it and Paranormal Pulse potty. It's famous. It's been in things. Well, not. It's been in books and pictures and stuff. It was a hit.
Yeah, it's been in things, all right, but yeah, and actually, those type of things is the things nobody ever. It's like first aid kit. We always have first aid kits with us.
I carry CPR instructions, all of it.
All kinds of stuff like that. There's a whole long list. Well, at least that's what we do. So okay, we got in this show. We're into an hour 40 now. And first, I want to give a shout out to Bob and Craig and Lisa for posting on the chat. Thank you very much. Real quick, here's my summary. I enjoyed tonight's show, or this afternoon show, depending where you're at. And we'll do more equipment here and there. We'll do some more EVPs. We demonstrated an EVP with accent that's from the United States in the West. It happens all the time. Very curious thing, especially over in the UK when you get a straight American accent. We talked about all that. So I think we covered a lot of things. The photo, thank you, Craig, from Pulse UK on the photo. I find it a fascinating photo. Curious. I'll have to do some more analysts. I'll have to analyze it a little more, maybe run it through some filters and see what we can come up with. And anyway, if you don't subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's full of fun and merriment. I think you'll enjoy it. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dave and Carrie to say their goodbyes. So I'm going to mute myself. Thanks, guys. Enjoyed it. Carrie, Dave, I'll let you two fight who goes next. Go ahead. Battle Royale. Go ahead.
I got the bigger balls, so I win. I'll say thanks, Cordell, Dave, Bob, Craig, Lisa. I enjoy doing this, and I think we need to get these discussions out there, and looking forward to next Sunday.
Yeah, we're just going to try to target as many people who could be looking to buy equipment. Just talk to us first, please. But yeah, no, it's great seeing you. What I'll do, Cordell, is I'll send you a Scottish clip or two of the accent as well.
Okay.
Okay, bud. But hey,
Yeah,
listen,
we'll play it on air. Yeah,
yeah, you guys take care, and I'll see you next week.
next Sunday.
Bye.
Cheers,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Bye bye.